Good morning. This is Mike Hughes, Director of Product Marketing with OutSystems. Thank you for choosing to spend time with us today as we dig into the topic of digital transformation and specifically how the various transformation initiatives are paving the way to insurers with truly agile business models. To address this topic, we're excited to have Mark Brading, a partner with Strategy Meets Action, here with us today. Mark will be digging into why there is a compelling need for a strategy to navigate digital transformation across the enterprise. A little housekeeping before I hand it over to Mark. So we should have a little time at the end for Q&A. If you have questions, you should see a question and answer panel. So feel free to enter questions in there and we'll try to get to those. So without further ado, Mark, over to you.
Thanks, Mike. Well, there's not much doubt that we're rapidly moving to a digital connected world. It's pretty exciting, and in a lot of ways there are many opportunities, but we're watching virtually every industry being transformed and disrupted in some way, and insurance is certainly no exception. There's huge implications for the insurance industry. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to explore the changes that are underway that we think affect insurance, how that applies to some of the different industry segments, and more importantly, what insurers are doing about it. And the good news is that there's new approaches and new technologies available to insurers of all sizes to address this. So I'm going to start with something we call the game changers, the 4 game changers in insurance. And we see a lot of activity in all of these spaces. So there's significant capital that is coming into the industry, particularly around insurtech companies. There are hundreds of companies in this space, all destined or aimed at trying to disrupt the insurance industry or different portions of the insurance industry, partnering with insurers or trying to replace certain parts of the insurance industry. And certainly many of those startups will fail, but some will be successful and will cause changes. Secondly, digital transformation, the topic of today's session. Most of the insurers that we work with, that we research in the industry, have some form of digital transformation underway. Over half of all insurers say they have a digital insurer enterprise strategy to think more comprehensively about what it means to be a digital insurer. Emerging technologies and data is a pretty exciting area. I think we're all probably following what's happening with driverless vehicles and drones and artificial intelligence and wearables and many other technologies. And all of those have implications for insurance and, are part of what's driving the industry towards thinking more about their digital transformation. And then finally, the last game changer, but certainly not the least, is customer expectations. And for the last 2 years, customer expectations is the #1 driver of technology investment for the insurance industry, based on our research. 85% of all insurers say that is the #1 focus area for them, is responding to both policyholders and agents in terms of their expectations in this digital connected world. Now, we've been tracking for a number of years what we call the company mode, 4 different modes defined here. And at the bottom, you see some companies that are barely surviving or maybe just sustaining with flat growth. And then you've got some that are growing and are successful companies. But what's most interesting is the top section there, the transforming. And we define this as companies that are trying to supercharge their growth, that are actively trying to implement new innovations, to rethink their business, and really transform their companies for this digital age. And you can see the clear trend there. Almost half of insurers now say we are trying to transform, we're trying to grow, at better rates and become more competitive. There are differences, though, by size of company. So certainly If you look at the insurers that are over $5 billion in size, the Tier 1 type insurers, 61% of those are actually transforming. Here on this slide, 52% of the over $1 billion. And then as you get to smaller companies, the transformation initiatives and growth initiatives take on different forms, but there's still a lot of activity there as well. Now, what's most interesting is kind of in the middle in this white space that I don't have a bar for on this slide are the $1 to $5 billion size insurers. They're getting pressured from above, and they're getting pressured from below with the smaller insurers. So lots of very interesting activities going on there as they're thinking about their digital strategies and the different areas of the business that they need to improve with various projects and various initiatives. So if I look at the largest insurers in the world, those tier ones, and just look at how are they responding to those game changers, all of these external factors, the things that are going on in the world around them. So there are these 8 major ways that we have cataloged. So first, there is a lot of, as I mentioned, a lot of insurtech investments. Insurers are actively creating their own venture capital arms. They're investing in insurtech companies. They're exploring insurtech, interesting activities there. New roles and new role models and new models. So the chief analytics officers, chief data officers, chief customer experience officers, data scientists, lots of different and new roles emerging in this new age, becoming more and more common. Partnerships and startups are strategies that are being taken, as well as divestitures and acquisitions. And then over on the right, a number of companies have significant innovation initiatives to try to change their culture and to inject new thinking and get new products or new processes that give them an advantage. So innovation labs or departments or innovation officers are becoming more common. And finally, big data and digital and customer type initiatives, lots of strategic investment in those areas. And in the middle, the core transformation, which is really at the heart of a lot of activity, because everything from a technology standpoint, many things end up touching those policy, billing, claim, underwriting type systems. But it looks a little bit different for the majority of the other insurers. If you're not the largest insurer in the world or largest insurers, right now a lot of their activity is really focused more around that core transformation. And it's not just the policy system. It's all of the processes and technologies and just the major business operations that run the business today. So they're certainly introducing new roles and have some innovation initiatives. Everyone, as I mentioned, has digital initiatives. That's an important response that everybody is taking. But we do see that a lot of activity is related to how kind of the major business processes of the organization are changing, and there's lots of different dimensions to that. It's not just a policy system. There are many different aspects to supporting, the agents or the underwriters or the adjusters or others that are really the key representatives of the business. So I want to look next at those strategic initiatives I have mentioned. So it doesn't matter every size of insurer, every line of business, the customer experience, changing the customer experience is the #1 top strategic initiative. But you also see a mix of other interesting activity here. Data and analytics is important for everyone. Channel expansion, new products. And then the other part of the message is that, as you see, that the core modernization initiatives tend to be maybe a little less important for the largest companies. Perhaps they've done that already or they have that in place. As you get smaller, it starts to work its way up the priority list, so that if you're in this last vertical bar here, the $100 million to $5 billion category, core modernization is the third of the 5 top strategic initiatives. So you can see a lot of these other initiatives, really have to do with digitizing more data and incorporating that data into the workflow and just changing the way that business is done, whether it has to do with channels or customers or products, or just innovation itself. So what I want to talk about a little bit now is what insurers are doing, how they're thinking about this digital connected world. So you see these 3 areas here: distribution, core, and data. We have been working with insurers on this model. It seems to resonate pretty well. I was just a couple of days ago with a Tier 2 size insurer that is taking this as a kind of central way they're thinking about the business and the way they organize their technology solutions and their roadmap, looking at a whole set of activities that support distribution from a customer view, agent view, managing those channels, then the core around all the business processes and technologies for underwriting, rating, policy, et cetera. And then data really as a third area, both the unstructured data and the structured data as well. And you see the bar that kind of spans or sits below all of those, digital, which is a recognition that many people see the need to think about connecting all of these systems and all of this digital data with some common platforms or some common ways to build solutions that support all of these different areas. Then the last comment here is a need to consider down at the bottom to think about the new ecosystems that are developing, and obviously need to consider the startups that I mentioned earlier, but new platforms and accelerators and developments in the standards world, all of those are factoring into how solutions are built and implemented in these spaces. So those are important new considerations. Now, the question, though, is why are insurers investing? Why are they thinking about it this way in terms of these areas? And so really the foundation is at the bottom there, agility. Again, the topic of this webinar, because one of the main objectives insurers have is to be able to respond to this rapidly changing world. Everybody realizes they can't predict exactly what's going to happen with various trends and technologies, but they know that things are moving fast. They're going to have to be able to respond. And they don't want legacy systems and processes to hold them back. The technology, if anything, should be enablers. So they want to build more agile systems. And so the agility, and then at the top, the innovation piece, lots of very interesting activity around trying to rethink processes in the business and business models and be more innovative. And then in the middle, of course, the main objectives, they really do want to improve the customer experience and use that to improve retention and to grow profitably. That's the ultimate bottom line is where they want to be, and then along the way, increase the visibility and transparency of the business and their scalability, because there may be opportunities that enable them or that require them to scale up fast or scale down quickly in a more digital environment. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the how, because we can see how they're responding, the kinds of things that insurers are doing, and the way they're thinking about their systems or their technology infrastructure. But in terms of the how, some of these blue bars in the middle here represent where, some things that they are focusing on. So first of all, the business process, with BPM solutions, with the opportunity to rethink workflows. They're doing that for efficiency, but also for new ways of doing business. So there's a lot of activity around trying to improve the processes themselves. Secondly, the buy versus build, challenge or question that most insurers come up with. So I've been working with an insurer just recently that is undergoing a fundamental shift. They used to have a philosophy of we build everything because we're unique, but now their philosophy is we want to leverage partners to help us build or to help us integrate purchase solutions because we need to be agile and we need more speed to market. And I think that's pretty representative. I think that there's a lot more openness in the industry to we need to leverage partners, we need to leverage capabilities that are already in the marketplace to incorporate because we want to move fast and build these agile platforms. And then there's many new tools to make it easier to develop web and mobile enabled type capabilities, to manage the data via using things like data integration hubs. Now, just a couple of examples of or some research data actually that shows what kinds of specific projects companies are investing in. First is personal lines, P&C personal lines. And as the headline says, the main idea here is that there's a wide variety of projects. There's a lot of activity going on. So the orange bars show where companies are replacing existing systems or adding new systems, a second one or a third one or something of that nature. And you can see a lot of the examples here. CRM, there's a resurgence there, lots of new web and digital type capabilities, a lot of the core systems, insured self-service portals, huge initiatives in that area, product development. And then the blue bars are where there's existing systems but significant enhancements, more money flowing into big projects to transform or enhance those capabilities. And if I look at the commercial line side of things, similar message, a little bit different mix of projects, more activity around core, perhaps core systems. Agent broker portals are a huge focus, major importance there. You can see between the replacement and the enhancement, half of all commercial lines insurers have major projects in that area. Underwriting has been a big focus area, lots of rethinking, automating commercial lines, underwriting processes in areas from submission on through to the binding of the policies. And so, just the idea here that there's lots of investment, lots of activity going on that's kind of supporting these digital initiatives overall. Now, this is just one example for the agent portals of the considerations that insurers tend to go through. So you see there's still a balance of buy and build, but there's definitely a shift more toward more cloud-based implementations and thinking about more comprehensive solutions that address all transactions. So what's the result of all of this? Especially if you're a CIO or if you're someone responsible on the business side for moving the business forward and for implementing new technology solutions, what's keeping you awake at night? And obviously dealing with limited resources is the big one. But trying to keep up with change, struggling with legacy systems, lots of other challenges we see here, you notice that it's not about the budget. Limited budgets are down near the bottom. They can find the money to do the initiatives that they need to, but it's finding the resources and the approaches and the capabilities to build and implement the technology that they have to support their strategies. Now, fortunately, there are new tech capabilities available that many companies are starting to use to address this complex set of projects and initiatives to build these modern platforms and to be successful in this digital era. So if I just start over on the right-hand side with those ovals, I've already mentioned cloud. Of course, it's easier to more quickly test, to allow more new options for ramp-up, to give more flexibility in the implementation and changes over time with solutions that are SaaS or cloud-based, and more activities happening in that space. And in the mobile side of things, mobile and web, HTML5 and responsive design are making it easier to deploy solutions that are accessible across many front-end platforms and devices. And today it's all about access. You want to give people access to the capabilities. We don't want to have to build to specific iOSs or hardware platforms, those kinds of things. We want to focus on the business capability we're providing, and that those capabilities are now more easily developed. Now, turning over to the right side, with the maturity of application programming interfaces in the marketplace that allow easier connectivity between different solutions that are built or purchased, agile development methods and other ways of application development are helping. And then the whole move towards more low-code approaches, which are really taking hold and offer a lot of promise because they do enable faster delivery. It requires less coding by individuals, as the name implies. And this is pretty important because more and more the business users are driving these activities and are managing these projects. And as you saw earlier, the resources to develop systems are a big part of the challenge. It's what's keeping folks up awake at night. So, taken together, building new software capabilities is really a lot less about the hardware and the operating systems today and a lot more about the business capability and building around services and APIs with reusable components and ability to rapidly get things up and running and tested. Now, these aren't new ideas, but the technology is maturing, and I know Mike is going to discuss that in some more detail in his section as well. So what I want to close with is just a call to action here. I think, first of all, if your company does not have an overall digital strategy, then you should be considering that. I'm certain everybody has a variety of projects and they're contributing towards becoming more digital, but your peers are thinking enterprise-wide in a more comprehensive way. They're thinking about platforms and they're thinking about reusable capabilities to move towards becoming a true digital insurer. And there's a lot involved there from the business and the technology side. So it's a journey. It's a multi-year journey, but it's worthy to get that raised to the C-level and to think about this overall digital strategy. The second thing I would say is to need to kind of break out of the old mold, the old way of thinking about how IT solutions are developed. The insurance industry has been quite successful over the years at using technology and building solutions, and the good news is that many solutions were built that lasted a long time and that are still running. But let's face it, there's a lot of legacy out there. There's a lot of kind of approaches from an IT standpoint that we've been using for a long time. Not to say that the industry hasn't advanced, but as I was describing some of these new ways of developing solutions, and especially leveraging partners and other experts out in the marketplace who can help you move faster, that I think is quite important. Again, one of the insurers that I've been working with has really changed their philosophy, which is pretty representative. There are lots of companies I know that have always capitalized on their IT staff and IT resources, and they have a great expertise and have built systems to support their company, but more and more are thinking we can't build it ourselves. There are lots of good partners out in the marketplace there. We need to leverage those kind of capabilities, and so there's a little bit of a shift there. And then the final is that just consider the potential for leveraging newer technologies like cloud and low-code platforms and Agile development and HTML5 and all those kinds of things if you're not doing that today. So I'm going to conclude at this point and turn it back over to Mike, and then I'll be available for some questions.
Great. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate the content and insights and great perspectives. So we're going to take some questions after this next section. So as a reminder, there should be a question panel where you can enter those. So if you go ahead and enter those, we'll get to as many as we can with the time that we have left. So I'm going to spend a few slides, a few minutes with you here just to talk about OutSystems and how our technology is helping insurers really accelerate their digital transformation journey and become more agile. But for those who've not heard of OutSystems, a few kind of stats about us first. So we've been in this space for 15 years. We've had a general purpose app development platform for that period of time. So we've been doing this a while. We have over 600 customers that spread across 33 countries, 22 industries, a network of over 130 partners that are actively building and delivering solutions using our platform, and over 7 million people globally are end users of applications built and running in OutSystems. So what is OutSystems? So in a single sentence, we are a low-code platform for building enterprise-grade apps incredibly fast. So let's break down that sentence and kind of decipher what that really means. So let's start with the easy part. So what does incredibly fast mean? So for our customers, we typically hear that they're seeing a 7 to 10x increase in speed when they build software. This is a game-changing increase in speed. We get these facts and figures thrown at us a lot, but if you just think about the impact of being able to build and deliver software 10 times faster, it really is game-changing. A lot of organizations aren't really prepared. In fact, we have customers where the IT team is waiting on the business for requirements, right? That's the kind of dramatic change we're talking about with platforms like OutSystems. And we'll cover a case study in a few slides with some more speed-related metrics. So moving backwards in the sentence, then enterprise grade. So we have large global clients, and they build and run mission-critical business applications with our platform. So enterprise grade for them it's not just an expectation. It really is a necessity. Platforms have to be secure, scalable, high-performing. They've got to be able to support teams of developers, testers spread all over the world. We have a lot of clients that fit this profile, and we've been doing this a long time. So we've definitely earned our enterprise-grade stripes. So that really just leaves then the low-code term, and that's where I want to focus for the rest of the slides here to kind of clarify what we mean by that. So some might lump low-code into 4GL or RAD or platform as a service. We're talking about, rather than coding by hand, we're talking about using visual models to drive the creation of applications. We like the term low-code because there are times where you'll want to do something that perhaps is already done, you've already got code you want to leverage, or perhaps it's less easy to do with the platform. And we make it then very easy for your code to be incorporated into our whole kind of development approach. So when we think about low-code, it's really removing the constraints of perhaps these systems that some people may have negative connotations of, right, from years gone by. So why don't we kind of address that elephant in the room directly? Because some of you may be thinking, I think we tried this. Didn't we try this back in the 90s? So the RAD of old, the RAD that you might remember is not the same as the low-code of today. The previous tools, you really had very little little control over what was generated. You almost always hit a wall in terms of kind of the flexibility of what you could produce, the expressiveness of the platform itself. You were effectively locked in, right? You could only do what the platform would allow you to do. The code that was generated also was kind of a black hole. It was proprietary in most cases. It wasn't scalable. It wasn't secure. And it didn't really follow any type of enterprise architecture, architectural pattern that would be usable to you, right? So you truly were locked in. And the consequence of that was that the platforms really didn't take off. They didn't progress beyond generating toy applications. So low code today, it's a very different situation. So a few key points to highlight here. So again, low code means we're not writing code. We're building visual models, drag and drop, very, very fast, very easy to learn. People are productive in a matter of days and weeks. And visual modeling applies then to all, without systems, to all layers of your application. So whether it's the user interface, whether it's business flows, business logic, integrating into other elements of your ecosystem, building out data models, all of that is done through visual models. So a lot of the points that Mark raised around kind of what you need to do from a digital transformation perspective, OutSystems as a platform supports all of those capabilities right out of the box, and it's all done with a visual approach. And then what gets generated then is really standard code. So again, this is why we're not locked in. Standard code, whether it's .NET or Java, that runs in our platform in a standard application stack as well. And this code is optimized for performance. It includes the most up-to-date security fixes. It's not just a black box blob of code, right? And because we're generating standard code, what this also means is you're never locked in. You can walk away. Now, that really is an exit strategy, right? We would rather use the code generated in our platform, but for the very few occasions where we have customers that couldn't remain customers, right, they're not locked in. So it reduces the risk from that point of view as well. Building applications is very fast. With OutSystems, it's literally a single click, and updating is just as fast. So for organizations that are truly trying to become agile, this is extremely important. It's not enough to just build the application first quickly, right? It needs to be easily maintainable. We need to be kind of reducing technical debt, not creating it. So OutSystems makes it very easy to maintain applications as well, which allows you to focus then more budget on innovation, right? We have stories on our website where large organizations talk about shifting from an 80% spend on keep the lights on, maintenance type activities to a 50-50 spend. Much, much more budget now available for innovation. So the other important aspect of low code today is extensibility. With OutSystems, every layer of your application is extensible. That means you can incorporate your own code if you have some sort of special UI graph, user interface graphing, right? No problem. It can be easily brought in. Perhaps you have some actuarial calculations that have already been written in .NET. Great. They can be wrapped and brought into our platform as well. And once they're in our platform, they're part of our low-code environment, which means you can drag and drop those reusable components, use them with other models, manage the dependencies, manage the life cycle, and make it part of our deployment package as well. So the extensibility is huge. It's what really provides kind of the no constraints approach to development. It really removes the risk that you're going to run into kind of a roadblock that just prevents you from being able to build what you need to be able to build. So very, very, very different from the RAD of years gone by. Certainly the old RAD platforms did not provide a state-of-the-art user experience, right? Many of them were back in the green screen era, right? Today, the expectation is very much driven by the Apple experience. We're expecting to have a beautiful user experience on device. We don't have patience for screens that take, let alone 5 seconds, even beyond a second, right, on a mobile device, and you start to lose patience with the application you're using. So our expectations are very high. And with OutSystems, you can very easily create with pre-built patterns any type of mobile experience, but you can also extend and customize those experiences down to kind of pixel-perfect precision. So you're not stuck with just a collection of kind of canned, pre-built objects that make every app look the same. You have complete control over the user experience. These pre-built components accelerate the process, but you also have complete control over the end result, and that's very, very important. Everybody wants to kind of create then their unique branded experience. So building software quickly is part of the challenge. The other challenge, of course, is that if you build it very quickly, you want to be able to deploy it quickly, right? If it takes 3 months to get this through the change control committee, then that really doesn't lead to an agile organization. So OutSystems out of the box provides all the tools you need to manage the infrastructure, to ensure safe single-click deployments, and then to proactively monitor and manage your applications to the point where you can quite literally drill down into a particular page that might have a slow-running query and find out that that query is only running slow on a certain type of device and it's over a certain type of network, even through a certain type of provider. So we have that level of precision that allows you to really manage your users' experiences as well, because it doesn't take more than a few seconds to lose a customer if they're having an unpleasant digital experience. And our platform is also accessible via a number of APIs, which means it's easy to integrate into your existing ecosystem from an application lifecycle management point of view. You can trigger deployments and so on, basically access everything through APIs so that we can fit into your lifecycle within your organization. So that's just kind of a quick view of where low-code is today. Very, very different than the RAD of decades ago. And that's obviously our perspective, but it's also backed up by the industry. If you look at where Forrester, for example, sees low-code now, they've actually produced a low-code wave that came out, the first one that came out this year during Q2, and they're predicting very, very rapid growth of the low-code segment. In fact, a 10x growth over the next few years to over 15 billion. So this is significant. This is not just toy apps. There are plenty of organizations running mission-critical applications built with a low-code, built and running with a low-code platform. And obviously, we're very excited about where we ended up in Forrester's report at the top there. So if we shift to Gartner, it's a similar story as well. So we've got a couple of magic quadrants here. The one on the left is application platform as a service. And on the right, we have the mobile application development platform. So a couple of things, it might be a little bit tough to read, but what I can tell you is in the visionary segments of both quadrants, we see a dominance of low-code platforms. These are really the platforms that are taking on the titans, the multi-billion-dollar software organizations. We're predicting that this kind of difference even between mobile, non-mobile application as a service, that over the next couple of years, Gartner is specifically predicting that it will be a merge, right? It will just have general purpose application development. That the kind of the lines between whether you're more focused on mobile or more of a business process driven solution, or whether you are more focused on case management, right? All of these solutions are kind of converging into general purpose application development. And general purpose application development is where we have always been as an organization from day one. That's the problem we set out to solve from the beginning. So the industry is recognizing the opportunity, and we're seeing that growth. What sort of impact can low-code have on an organization? So I just wanted to kind of run through one case study to give you a sense of the opportunity here as you think about your own digital transformation journey. So this is one of our customers, AXA, a global insurer. I'm sure you're familiar with the name. And their challenge was that knowing that today's customers expect access on any device and that brokers are going to consider other insurance providers if they aren't satisfied with your solutions, their commercial lines division set kind of a mandate to innovate. And in fact, one of their solution architects was reading a paper we produced on why IT struggles to innovate, where we highlight that so much of the budget is dedicated to just maintenance, keep the lights on. And the solution architect was skeptical, did a bit of digging, and found out that, yeah, actually, much of their IT budget was actually going into those types of activities as well. So they realized that they needed a fairly dramatic change to really truly innovate, right? That it was more than just a small adjustment here, a small adjustment there. There needed to be something much more dramatic to make an impact and drive innovation. So this eventually led to OutSystems platform being introduced into the organization. And the first challenge for the platform was to build out a front-end portal for claims tracking, making basically claims tracking available to brokers. And it was called eServe. So AXA used OutSystems to build eServe. It just took 3 months. And this was a web-based portal accessible from any device. eServe allows brokers basically to quickly and easily view the progress of their clients' claims regarding AXA policies. Before eServe, brokers would have to go on the phone, speak to a customer service rep to get their information and status updates. and they couldn't do that whenever they wanted. So with eServe now, brokers, because of the solution that was built, brokers can instantly retrieve that same information 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, anywhere where they have an internet connection. And in fact, eServe is now handling more than 250,000 claims a year across thousands of brokers. And things moved very quickly. In fact, after only 4 weeks from the beginning of the project, the COO was confident enough to actually do a show and tell with the CEO. And a couple of months after that, the application itself was live. So when we're talking about low code and using phrases like incredibly fast, these are the sorts of results that we're used to seeing from our customers. So if you want to find out more about low code, this was just kind of the very, very brief introduction. Definitely check out our website, outsystems.com. We've got this great evaluation guide that will give you a lot more background on low code platforms, the problems that can be solved, and really address any question you might have about these types of solutions. And we also have a host of insurance case studies and other types of verticals as well that would be perhaps relevant too. So definitely encourage you to go out and check it out for yourself and read the case study to see the sort of impact that we're able to have on organizations. So that's the end of the OutSystems content, which leaves us with a couple of minutes for questions. So let me check the question panel here, Mark, and see what we have. So got a few good questions coming in. Okay, I'm going to paraphrase this one a little bit. So the first question, I think this one, Mark, if you can take this. So is there really much, I think this one's playing devil's advocate slightly, is there really much difference in insurance from 5 years ago? Or is it still the same kind of pace and approach that we're used to? So I don't know, from your perspective, I'm not sure if that's a devil's advocate question or not, but interested in your response to that question.
No, it's a good question, and it's one that I actually hear people ask sometimes. And my view is that there is a distinct difference. The pace is faster, and it is accelerating. But at the same time, we still have to deal with a set of technology, processes, culture, people that run the business every day. And certainly for some people who are in the midst of that and managing transactions and working with customers, it may not seem to be changing very much. So the challenge really is about introducing new ways to pick up the pace, figuring out how do we bridge to this future, because we can't just abandon everything we have and start greenfields everywhere. We have to adapt, evolve, change, implement new capabilities faster, with the consideration of the business we have in place today.
Great. No, I completely agree, and it's a good question. Next question, I think there's one here I'll take this one perhaps, a question around what's a good fit for projects for OutSystems from an insurer's point of view. So I would answer that there are probably three categories of solutions, if you will, that the reasons that people are looking at OutSystems probably fall into three buckets. There are those that are looking for mobile type solutions specifically. So perhaps it's a field services application that can be used by agents even offline. So very, very mobile centric use cases. The second category is really organizations that really are not looking to rebuild their core systems, but leverage those systems of record. They perhaps already support the business, but they want to create new channels. They want to create new ways in, new ways, similar to the AXA case study. That's a very common use case. New channels, sometimes functionality, databases that store additional data from other types of sources, but they're basically looking to kind of create web applications and portals. And then the last category are those organizations that really are building mission-critical systems of record replacements, right? I think And that tends to be an evolution. That doesn't tend to be where organizations start day one, but once organizations have built kind of a trust in the opportunity of low-code, then they tend to go down that path because they're able to get great results, reduce technical debt. I mentioned, one of our first customers, Liberty, was able to move. They were able to move from an 80-20 spend on keep the lights on activities to 50-50. So 50% of the budget's now going to innovation. That's because they were able to replace a lot of their existing applications without systems. So I would answer that in kind of those three buckets. I think we have time for one last question.
Mike, I can
sorry, go ahead, Mark.
One observation there, too, that what we see is that, once companies get experience with low-code platforms and maybe there's one or two focus areas they start with, but they tend to find that there are lots of potential across the enterprise, to build, to extend, to like you say, even around the core systems as they're modernizing and advancing those. There are a lot more opportunities than they maybe originally think of after they have a platform in place and some experience with using it.
Yeah, great point. So let's squeeze in one last question. We're right at the end of our time block here, but I think this will be a good one for you as well, Mark, because it kind of takes us outside of just the insurers. So it seems to be an active time for partnerships and acquisitions of tech providers in insurance. How does that affect our opportunities, plans, and approaches? Great question as well.
Well, again, it's all about having a technology environment that's modern, that's digital, that's agile. So there may be great opportunities for partnerships or to leverage a new technology solution, but if you cannot integrate those into your operations in a reasonable time frame, the market advantage is going to be lost. So, and it may not be cost effective either. So that's really the main consideration. It's all about speed and agility these days. So, it's not just about all of the things you could do and might do. You have to build those platforms in your company so that you can respond to market opportunities and take advantage of some of these partnerships or a new acquisition or whatever it might be, and get new products out to market or new ways to service customers. So that's the way I think about that area.
Great. No, great insights. And Mark, thank you very much for joining us today. I think gives a lot of food for thought as insurers are looking at kind of this road to agility and the sorts of digital transformation initiatives that are required to get there. So very, very thankful for you spending time with us today. There are more questions out there that we didn't get to, so we will get back to you via email on those questions. So thank you everybody for joining. We appreciate your time as well today and for the questions you've submitted. And we look forward to having you on another webinar soon. Thank you very much, everyone.